Every time Sony announces their PlayStation Plus free games for the month, I get excited. Of course I get excited. It's free games. Why aren't more people excited? Usually when I bring it up, somebody says, those games suck. It's just a bunch of indie trash. And this isn't the only time that I hear this. Whenever I bring up a game like Firewatch or Shovel Knight, my friends who are a little bit farther out of the loop immediately get turned off. I was playing Ollie Ollie 2 on Vita, and one of my friends actually said to me, "What's that?" "Oh, I don't like your shitty shovel games." He was referring to Shovel Knight. That was his weird parallel. So is this okay, and why are so many people turned off by indie games? First off, what is an indie game? Well, I made a video about this around a year ago, but basically, it's not a genre, it's a subgenre. Like, these games have virtually no similarities other than that they're indie games. Indie games are just games made by a small team of people, typically with a small budget. So making a brash generalization about indie games is pretty baseless. You're basically judging a game based on how small the team is that developed it. Minecraft was originally developed by one dude, and now it's one of the biggest games of all time ever. I think a lot of people get the idea that indie games are short, simple games with super basic or artsy-fartsy graphics, which a lot of them are. But this creates a false genre. With this in mind, a game like Child of Light has everything it needs to be an indie game, except for that it was developed by Ubisoft Montreal, which we all know is very much not a small studio. And not all indie games are short. Bastion is a solid 8 hours. And not all indie games are artsy-fartsy. The Vanishing of Ethan Carter has realistic graphics, and so does Outlast. And these games aren't exactly what I would call simple. Simple to me implies simple game mechanics, like Superhot, time moves when you move, or Gone Home, pick up shit and look at it. But is being simple such a bad thing? What's wrong with basing a game off of one simple and fun game mechanic rather than trying to shoehorn in a bunch of varying game mechanics for variety's sake? Refine the fun parts of what you have to make your game great. I'd rather have a short game that's 100% fun than a long game that's like 50% fun. Indie games usually base their whole game off of one or a few simple, fun game mechanics, and because they're such a small team and they don't have a lot of shareholders to answer to, they can get really interesting with it. Indies are where the new and interesting ideas happen. A game like Gone Home would have never been made at a AAA studio. A game where you just walk around and look at shit, it'll never sell. Indie games also inspire AAA games. DayZ was selling really well, but stayed in development for forever, so Sony just came around and completely copied and pasted it, and now we have H1Z1. Alien Isolation was inspired by the success of Slender, which had one really good idea. You're always being stalked by the enemy, and you're basically defenseless. Sounds simple, but nobody was going to make a whole game like that, let alone an 18-hour game. That game was so long that it negatively affected its review scores. With that game mechanic, you really can't stretch out too much of a game. Slender was only like 20 minutes long. People complain that indie games are too short, and with a small team and a limited budget, it's understandable why most indie games are short. But games like Bastion and Super Meat Boy are around 8 hours long. That's hardly short. And Spelunky is like 20 hours long, and that's if you powerhouse your way right through the main stuff. And what about No Man's Sky? This game's gonna be huge. Like, a whole universe huge. Does this game even look like an indie game? It's very hard to believe that it was made by only 10 people. Especially because the last game that they made was this thing. So that was a weird clap. So what do you guys think? Is it okay for people to dismiss indie games just for being indie? If you're one of those people, I'd like to hear from you and why you're turned off by games like this. I think I want to make a quiz called AAA or Indie, and you have to guess what a game is from a small clip of it. So give me some ideas for that. Games like Child of Light and Everybody's Gone to the Rapture are perfectly confusing for this. Anyway, leave it in the comments below. Add me on Twitter, all of this other social media garbage, and look at this shirt. You think it's cool? I think this shirt is f***ing rad as hell. Also, I'm getting it. Also, we made this shirt based on the, made this shirt based on the backlash we got from one of my PC Master Race videos. This is console gaming Master Race, so pick that up. These shirts are both at our TeePublic store, which has a link in the description of this video. Anyway, thank you guys very much, and hopefully I'll see you at Wulff Den Live every single Wednesday at 9 o'clock p.m. Thank you very much. Have a good week. This realization came with the release of Everybody's Gone to the Rapture. I thought, wow, this game looks great. I'll never get around to playing it. I thought the same thing about Telltale's The Walking Dead, but that I got as far as installing on my phone. So give me some credit for that. When you're streaming, your attention has to be 100% on the game that you're playing and 100% on your chat. But Bob, that's 200%. I know it is. I'm proving a point here. It takes a lot of concentration and focus. If you get up for a minute or two while you're streaming, you lose viewers. People tune in and see an empty chair, they just leave.